What's up, everybody? Today we have an awesome interview with Mr. David Rosenberg where we talk about conservation, we talk about some trends that we see in the attractions industry, and more specifically in some zoos and aquariums side of things. It's going to be a great time. Welcome to the Attractions Group Podcast.
All right, well, Clete, today we got an interesting interview coming up. It is with David Rosenberg from SSA Ventures. He's got a very varied background. He's in a lot of guest experience. He's done just about everything in the last 2 decades, including being the chairman of IAPA back in 2019, oversaw the opening of the new offices in Orlando, as well as they're moving from Maryland down there. So let's welcome to the show here, David Rosenberg.
Hi, David. Hi, Clete. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Did I mention everything correct?
And yeah, I think you kind of gave a little bit of a summary. It's
Give a little bit of a summary. So, in absence, fill in the gaps for us. What is your background and what brought you to where you're at with SSA?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. And again, I'm really excited to be here because it obviously I've lived and breathed attractions from the majority of my career, and just a couple quick stops. Started at Walt Disney World out of college, and jumped into the hotel side at Hyatt Hotels Corporation, which in my opinion gave me just a great background in all the different areas that make up attractions. And then came back and was with the Monterey Bay Aquarium for almost 17 years. And then left that to join SSA Group almost 2 years ago now. So definitely have had the opportunity to be focused on individual attractions, as well as now with SSA, we're present in almost 100 attractions, and it's been a fun journey, that's for sure.
What is your role there at SSA? Because you were in marketing and general manager at Monterey, correct?
Yeah, well, in Monterey, I oversaw always had the guest experience. So that was everything that has to do with what a visitor experiences when they come to the aquarium. And at SSA, it's kind of almost in a similar role, but again, expanded across our whole portfolio. So I'm executive vice president on our venture side. And I focus on just that, the guest experience and the attractions and how we can grow that and make sure that we stay one step ahead.
Nice. And tell us a little bit about SSA, like a 101. If there are people out there who've not familiar at all with SSA, what do they do for the attractions industry?
Yeah, so SSA is I think that one of the best ways to say it is almost like a management company that we are able to partner with cultural attractions or just about any type of attraction and help operate the key components of it. So food and beverage, merchandise, the stores, admissions, the technology that supports all those different parts, even marketing. So we really are a company with a huge breadth of knowledge, and in the 100 attractions that we serve, we're at all different levels in how we partner with those groups.
Very cool. Very cool.
Okay. So in going with where we're going with the podcast, I actually want to back up a little bit, since we are an industry-focused podcast. What is the absolute, in touching your background, your absolute first memory of a great day at being an amusement park, a museum, or any other major attraction? What can you go back in time? What is your first memory of that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I had a full head of hair back then, so that was right there gives you a little bit of a time warp, I'm sure. But the story that always sticks out for me is when I was 7 years old. And I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona. We didn't really have many attractions in Scottsdale, Arizona at that time. And every summer in July, my parents would load me and my 2 older brothers into a green Cadillac Seville, and we'd drive the 8 hours. I know. Can you imagine this like green long car?
Yeah. Wow.
and we drive 8 hours to get to San Diego. And we would during that week we'd have three stops. One was at the San Diego Zoo, and that memory of Chester the bear. You go in the tram, and Chester the bear would wave at you as went by. And if you look up as an icon forever at the San Diego Zoo, everybody went to see Chester the bear. So San Diego Zoo, Chester the bear. Then we go over to SeaWorld the next day, and I was convinced I was gonna be a dolphin trainer. That was just to be like the coolest thing at that time. And then on the third day, we would go to Disneyland. And I just remember, we had to go on It's a Small World not once, but twice, because my mother would be singing along and clapping, and the three boys in the back were just like, how what is going on here? But it was just such an amazing memories, and that whole trip, which was predicated on these attractions that we went to, and thinking about these individual experiences and the single part of Chester the Bear, the dolphins, or going on It's a Small World and thinking about how friendly all the staff were there. Those are memories that, that I was 7, and then today I can tell the story just as vividly as it was the day I experienced it.
Yeah,
Clete, how about
that's
you?
amazing.
What's your earliest park memory?
My earliest park memory is actually not even in a park. I was like 6, and I was in the car on the way home from school, and I heard them doing a top 10. I was probably not 6. I was probably like 4, because it was like 2010. It was 2010. So I was 4. I was, hearing them do the top 10 countdown on the radio, and when I got home, I was 4, so that was the first time I had ever heard of a top 10 list. So I got on the computer and I looked up top 10 roller coasters, and I saw this video called Top 10 Roller Coasters Voters Edition 2009, which I'll link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. It has like 10,000 views. It's like from 2009. It's absolutely a terrible list, but I was so curious. And then I went up to Cedar Point one day and saw all those coasters from that video, and that was it for me. David, how about you?
I'm going to place a date on myself here. It was my earliest memory is going to Kings Island back in, I don't know what year it was. By mentioning what ride it was in the background, might place a date on it. I don't remember what that was, but the little skylift that went from the Hanna-Barbera area over to the wild animal habitat. I don't know what it was called at that time, but the thing went across that they took out in the early 80s. I don't remember when that was, but I remember the music in the car going up to through the parking lot was the I don't know the name of the song, but it's from the Grease soundtrack. And I can't confirm whether or not that was on an 8-track or a cassette, if you know what those are. So I do know that, and we got those gigantic playing cards that had a picture of fireworks going off in the background, and the chairlift going across. That's my earliest park memory. I'm pretty sure I rode nothing because I didn't really ride anything until I was in high school, but it was probably wasted admission on me that day.
Wow, that's all right. No such thing. No such thing as wasted admission. So, David, I do have to ask, and I'm talking the guest, David. I suppose I need to clarify. The double David action here. You said you started at Walt Disney World. We do, I know some people that listen to this show from Walt Disney World, myself included. What were you doing at Walt Disney World back in the day?
Well, while I was in school, my first job was a lifeguard at Typhoon Lagoon on the Disney College program. And let me tell you, that probably is one of my favorite jobs ever. It was so
Really?
much fun. We'd go out, and we thought we were cool, and out there in Typhoon Lagoon, which was an amazing water park, still is an amazing water park. Started on the college program, worked my way up into professional internships, and then into management positions in the resorts division. So, which is actually how I ended up in the hotel side initially.
Sure.
But it was a great ride, and it's amazing that now we're 25 years later, and I still have lots of great friends and connections that are still part of the Disney organization. So it's a small world, that's for sure. No pun intended.
Nice.
So David, the other David, not me, David, I'm going to read a quote that you have on the on the SSA website, and I have my little cheat sheet here, so I make sure that I get it correct because I didn't memorize it. Let's see, an integrated, innovative, seamless visitor experience isn't merely an expectation, it's the future of guest engagement. By ensuring every touch point is connected and meaningful, the future-focused SSA Ventures portfolio transforms the guest journey from the moment a visit is envisioned to long after the departure. Do you remember saying that?
That's a mouthful.
Well, no, but a lot is made about the guest experience. Do you like the experience or do you like the thrill? I'm an experienced person. I would much rather have a really immersive experience as opposed to taller and faster. So I just want to go down the cart path a little bit of, let's talk about what an integrated, innovative, and seamless visitor experience looks like in your head.
Yeah, and just to back up a little bit too about like how do visitors come up with what is the guest experience? Like what is their expectations, right? And so I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and I know others have too, that at the end of the day, the visitor experience is based on people's own background and what they've seen and know of. Three of us all talked about these experiences that we've had that kind of was early on, but I still look back at that and I'm like, all right, my expectation of visitor experience is that it's clean, it's friendly staff, it's engaging. It's if I go to Disneyland, is it seamless that everything that happens for me? And because I've experienced that in other places, that's the baseline of what I expect when I go to the next place. So that bar is constantly raising all time, all tides raised together. And did I say that right? And so we're that constantly is how people are looking at things. And so when a quote like that in my mind is just that, it's what is happening, that we are always looking one step ahead, what the next level of that visitor experience is, what people are going to expect. And one big part that they expect is that there's no pinch points in what their experience is. So what's a pinch point? Well, if I go to an attraction, I want it to be as smooth as possible. I want as few distractions as possible to then allow me to focus on having that good time with my family, engaging with all the different things that the attraction offers. And if I hit a pinch point, then that takes away from that experience. Likewise, if I hit a pinch point that I didn't experience someplace else, it really stands out because my expectation is I'm not going to run into those pinch points. So, Dave, that long quote that you said is just that. It's how do you our expectations are constantly evolving. We're constantly raising the bar, and we as a group, as an attractions group, really need to be focused on knowing what pinch points can exist and how to make sure that we're always removing those. And the good news is we have lots of opportunities. We have professionals that work in that area. We have the tech that is being built to remove pinch points. We're constantly learning from each other as well, and we have great organizations that we can bring in and help with that too.
So let's talk about that technology for a second, because the pinch points can look like different things for different families depending on what their specific expectations and needs are. Maybe there's a family who has a bunch of dietary allergy restrictions, and then they come into an attraction, a zoo, a theme park, and they need to find out how they're going to eat around that. Now more than ever, it could be easier to accommodate them because we have things like digital menus. You select your allergies and then things get rearranged, and now this is what you can eat. That's great. These things are great. These pieces of technology truly are wonderful, and they make the experience easier. But do you think that it's possible to go too far into the technology so that people are confined to be engaging with the technology and not with the attraction around them and with each other?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And several years ago, I did an experiment where I put technology on iPads into the hands of some key staff, and this is at Monterey Bay Aquarium. And the idea was that when people are talking about the exhibit, they would have the opportunity to show on the iPad, like, hey, this is this animal in the wild. This is really cool. This is some stuff that, a way to dive deeper. And I thought it was a brilliant idea. Let's do it. This is going to be the next level of guest experience. And instead, what it did is it distracted the staff member. So they spent more time trying to interpret the technology than this amazing exhibit that was right in front of them. And that became a distraction. And so, lesson learned that technology is definitely an amazing tool when used correctly. And used incorrectly, it can actually be a distraction. So it's definitely now we've evolved. People have evolved as well. That now technology, we all carry around and have our phones with us. We're always looking at tech, and so it's always meeting people where they're at with tech, and making sure that we have that. Now you brought up food service as a great example. There's nothing worse than going to a restaurant during an attraction and have to wait in a long line. And likewise, getting to the front of the line and then trying to decide what to buy and taking your time, and then that actually adds to the line even more.
Yeah.
And so, what does technology do now? Well, hey, people can pre-order their food before they get there. They have the opportunity to look at the menu ahead of time. They can walk right in, go to a food locker, open up the food locker, their food's waiting for them, get that food out, and go sit down with the family. That pinch point has now been removed, and that attraction experience is that much better. And then take that even a step further. That if you know as an attraction that, hey, between 12 and 1:30, we know we're going to get hit. We get hit every day. I mean, it's predictable. Then let's adjust our menu and adjust the online ordering to be items that we can fire off faster, because we can turn and burn burgers, we can turn and burn certain foods at that time. So it might have a little bit of less price point, but we can really get the volume through. And then once that volume's done, let's put back on some of those more gourmet items that make it a little bit longer, but also drive up our per cap. So it's really getting just kind of creative and knowing how to use that technology to meet people where they're at, enhance their experience, not take away from it. And likewise, it's just small things like what I just talked about are really at our fingertips now as operators.
Fantastic.
So Dave, you prefer David or Dave?
David, it's fine.
David, okay. So David, say I get on the phone, I call you up on the thing, and I say, Dave, I want you to come to my chain of parks. It's called Dave's Parks, and you come on site, and in the initial conversation, it comes out. What are some common pinch points, as you call them, that you see that constantly come up in places that you've gone to or consulted with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
And what are some that just really bother you? That just get annoying because you see them everywhere.
Well, sometimes I think that we don't think about the visitor experience as starting before somebody even walks up to that attraction,
right,
and continuing until well after they're gone, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not looking at that entire arc, then it's a miss, and then challenges can happen. And so so definitely see that sometimes is that people think about that, hey, the visitor experience starts after they buy their ticket once they're inside. No, well, it starts when somebody's at home, they're researching because they're planning their visit. People do more planning before their visit than they actually do during their visit. And so how do you tie that all together? And so pre-planning, making sure that occurs. The opportunity to get people to pre-purchase their tickets, which makes sense in a lot of organizations. Again, it eliminates the pinch point that can happen right at the beginning. Right when somebody gets inside the door, another key area is if somebody has a good interaction with somebody that's wearing a name tag, then the chances are that's going to lead to the next person, because they're going to want to engage with more people that have a name tag. Likewise, if they missed the boat right at the front and that they had an interaction with somebody with a name tag and it wasn't so good, then they're going to assume that why bother? I'm not going to engage with staff throughout the visit. So really putting that focus on the front end and creating these engaging experiences. A lot of organizations, right when somebody buys the ticket, will have, that's the wayfinding area. When somebody walks in the door, the first thing you do is you look around and try to figure out what to do. Get engagement there to really set people up. So it's really just looking at every interaction, making sure that it's remarkable, trying to set up right at the beginning that that arc to get people all the way through, and then likewise really getting people comfortable to be able to ask questions and connect that visit from start to finish.
So 452 hospitality. I understand that this is. Could you tell us a little about what 452 Hospitality is with SSA Ventures?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. As we were talking about just a moment ago, every interaction needs to be remarkable, and that's kind of
Mm,
what for what 452 Hospitality is. And so Sean McNicholas, who's the CEO of the CEO of SSA,
mm,
he and his family found SSA. SSA is a longtime family operated company. And 452 is actually the street address to the house that he grew up in.
mm,
And so and if he was here, he just tells this story with passion. And it's something that we can all relate to, which is 452. That was like the house on the street that every kid, there was lots of kids going up and, playing around on the streets. And they all would always come over to his house because when you went into 452 Lion Street, the door would open. His mother loved to be a host and would just put hugs around people as they came in the door, and would always have food and things going on, and just everything about that street address was hospitality. And because of that, people wanted to hang out there. And Sean would tell stories that people would come and be like, "All right, hey, it's time to go. We're gonna have our family's gonna have our own dinner tonight." But that's what 452 hospitality is. And it's really easy then to draw that connection about we all have experiences like that, whether it's our own
mm.
home or someplace we've been, where it's this next level hospitality. It engages on a different level of empathy, of emotion. It's that type of connection. And that's what 452 hospitality is. And so when we're able to connect with visitors, connect with our staff on this emotional level, on this empathetic level, on the level that really drives conversation, then we've hit a home run. And especially in cultural attractions, which are focused on moving visitors to their mission, that's critical. That's critical that we're able to engage on this empathetic level, because we want to have these conversations to then draw people towards the mission of the organization. And that's what 452 Hospitality is.
So you can. I mean, that is amazing. That's truly, and I do totally connect. I think we all do, right? But when it comes down to like making this a reality at your attraction, wherever you are, your hotel maybe, there's a lot you can do in terms of trying to create a culture, trying to train people, trying to make your policies such that hospitality is always that's the foot that's put forward. But I think a lot of it still does come down to your staff and their ability to empathize and connect with the guest, and to smile all the time despite having the same 3 interactions for 8 straight hours. How do you do that? How do you get your staff to have that care to connect with your guests?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. And I mean, we all know, of course, selection and getting the right staff in the
Yeah.
first place is a start, right? And a lot of where I found the most success is the hiring practices to be very engaging, and likewise, as much as possible, paint the picture of where that staff member is going to be. So, in some of my previous organizations, we actually would bring in the staff that we're hiring or about to select from, and have them interact as a group, and have them actually really be part of a social environment to make sure that they're comfortable in that. Then the next step is to invest in them. And that's something that I just am passionate about. That if staff feel that you're investing in them, they'll invest in you.
Hmm.
And so what does an investment in staff mean? Well, of course, everybody wants to be paid, and everybody wants to have that package. But the investment is, you as a new staff member, we're going to take time to really train you. We're going to make sure that your orientation program is not just us having you go through and talk about the policies of our organization, but we're going to spend time before you ever see a visitor and really give you engaging training that's not only going to help you today, but it's going to help resonate in the future. And honestly, you'd be surprised how much of a miss that can be when organizations are not doing that. And a lot of
Yeah.
organizations do not do that.
Yeah.
And likewise, when that training happens at orientation, I'm a big advocate of a 2-day orientation where it's
Mhm.
just really lots of scenarios, lots of training to really get comfortable with how people are going to interact. But that sets people up for success. And it also, in the long run, it adds to retention because people feel that they've been invested in. And it's more productivity because they're out in the field, they're out there with that right training, and the management has to be less engaged with that.
Yeah.
So it's that front end. And then the last part is communications. Communications is key. And as we know, it can't just be communicate once in a while. Every day has to start with communications. And in my opinion, every communication also needs to include some tidbit of the day about what visitor experience should be. So that's always front of mind. And so communications, what's happening today, what to expect, what to be focused on. Um, those daily communications are also key to an organization.
When it comes to training with employees coming on, whatever the park may be, it may be an amusement park, museum, water park, FEC, whatever it is. Or why is it that a lot of organizations don't put the time and effort into, or as much time and effort into the training? Because that ties directly into not just necessarily the guest experience, that ties into training, that ties into it's subconscious marketing. There's a whole lot of things that get tied into it. What are some of the drawbacks of why organizations don't invest more time than they do into it? Because a lot of places I've seen that their response to a staffing issue is just to throw staff at a problem,
Hmm.
and that draws its own problems. And they may have a guest, or I'm sorry, an employee, an associate, do whatever it may be, with them for a very short time, and then they're no longer in there for a couple of weeks, and the next person comes in and drives that. So why is it a lot of places don't take that intentional time and effort to do proper training?
Yeah, well, as we know, turnover leads to turnover, right? And so organizations will see the highest amount of turnover with employees that are under their first 90 days. And likewise, that's kind of like circling the drain a little bit. So if it when operations are trying to ramp up or operations have holes to fill, there's definitely the need to get that staff member, like you just said, David. It's like we gotta
Mm-hmm.
get that staff member in there because we need to
Yeah.
plug the hole. And then it's like, oh gosh, we just gotta get this person on the floor because we need them to operate. And so they get put on the floor. And then likewise, because they came on the floor without the proper training or enough training, then they become one of those statistics that's within that first 90 days and more turnover happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so that fire drill can continue to grow if we don't get your hands around it, as opposed to hopefully you're going to go in and be able to get again, get your arms around it, have that staff member come in, have the proper training, have the investment. So they go out and on day one, they're out there really making a big impact. And likewise, they feel that you invested in them, they invest back in you, and they get past that 90-day hump where they're actually trained others as well. So it's unfortunately it's a cycle that needs to be broken. And sometimes it's hard to break that cycle when you're in the middle of it.
So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about your time as IAPA chairman and talk about within that sustainability specifically, which was a big focus. And given that you've been in an aquarium for a long time, for good reason, do you think we're headed in the right direction? Have you seen what you would consider to be considerable progress in the attractions industry as far as sustainability is concerned? And in what ways do we definitely still need to move towards the sustainable future?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking that because it's obviously a passion of mine, and I know it's a passion of others. But when I had the opportunity to be chair for IAPA, a really it was really an exciting time. And if you looked at the headlines back then, um, a lot of attractions were coming out with what their sustainability models were. They were trying to connect with visitors that pretty much had that expectation. And so Six Flags has some big announcements. And Disney, everybody really were coming out with big moves towards sustainability. In fact, um, tell you, one of my favorite stories at that time was when Six Flags Magic Mountain came out with that they had built a solar farm over their VIP parking lot
Hmm.
that's closest to the front gate, and the entire park was able to go solar. And that was such a great announcement because not only was it that, hey, Six Flags is really conscious of um, meeting the expectations of sustainability, but they were taking measures to do that, and they were getting a return on their investment because now people were paying more money to park underneath the solar panels, which is now the VIP parking because it's covered parking. And
Shade.
that area in the middle of summer is hot and you want your car covered. So they were able to build a VIP parking area that was covered in solar that was generating from the park. What a great story to tell. And I was all over telling that story everywhere. But the what that did was it met the changing expectations of visitors, and that started during the time period when I was at IAPA and before that people were really starting to do that. So now fast forward today, visitor expectations continue to evolve, and the generation that's now becoming our highest propensity visitor, they have expectations of the attractions that they go to, that we are connecting with them into their personal beliefs. And their personal beliefs are definitely dictating and saying that, hey, we want to make sure that we're giving our money, spending time with our family in organizations that care. And sustainability is definitely demonstrating that organization cares and is moving the needle. And so it was a great time when I was chair to be kind of when that expectation was starting to grow. And I think that that's really expanded even more so in today with attraction. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, for
What are
sure.
some what are some efforts that you really see that are picking up steam, and what are the current trends going towards? Is it towards sustainable options for drink carriers, or is it recycling organic foods, or not organic foods, but I mean foods either that are pre-consumer content or post-consumer content? But where do you see the shift going to right now?
Yeah. Well, I think I could back up just a couple weeks ago. The Association of Zoos and Aquariums had the big annual conference in Tampa, Florida. And that's, of course, zoos, aquariums, and some museums, but we all come together and have that opportunity to talk about what the trends are in the industry and what we see. First of all, we were able to demonstrate firsthand that you can do zero waste events for even big events like what we had for our icebreaker with AZA, which was thousands of people. So at the Tampa Aquarium, Tampa Aquarium in partnership with SSA was able to host a zero waste event for
Wow.
thousands of people, and that was
Cool.
that was huge. And so how does that tie into your question then is how do we do that? It is to have not only products that are either completely biodegradable that will break down in landfill, or even more importantly get diverted from landfill altogether and go into their and be recycled and reused. And so to be able to host an event like that shows that there are plenty of products, plenty of knowledge, and plenty of opportunity to do that. And that's something that we probably couldn't do 10 years ago, but we
Yeah.
certainly can pull it off today. And so as people's demands have stepped up, the business community has definitely stepped up as well, and there's more and more products coming onto the market that help to support that. Likewise, there's more and more expertise that are able to look at creative ways to divert from landfill and really bring things back around. So it's an exciting time.
I mean, yeah, in high school economics sense, your supply increases when the future demand, projections of future demand are higher, and when your supply increases, you have cheaper products that are being sold at a higher quantity. And when you're talking about like sustainability, it really is such an industry wide, such a worldwide effort. You need those like widespread sweeping economic changes to come and help out with the way that the parks are being ran, to push them towards sustainability as well.
Yeah, you said that so well, and it one opportunity for attractions, because we're such a big industry, is we really have the opportunity to move the needle, right?
Yeah.
If we are, as we come together and we're buying in certain directions, and we're even looking and saying, hey, we want to do X, we have the power to really push the industry in a direction. And I think the attraction industry recognizes that and has stepped up well and has continued to step up to that. So it's really it's again, it's a great time to be part of that. And as we step and we push the needle in direction, the costs come down and the opportunities increase. And so it's really, we are moving the needle.
Yeah. Yeah, which is great.
I have a question on the sustainability front as it pertains to energy efficiency, because normally people think about sustainability, they think of recycling or even solar to an extent, but theme parks and attractions in particular are huge consumers of energy. From electricity or oil, gas, or whatever it may be. But from an energy standpoint, here in Ohio, and I can only speak to Ohio, and I'm pretty sure in Florida is much, much worse, and usually is. But in Ohio, this summer, I don't think we got above 92 very often, which is kind of a mild summer for Ohio. But at the same time, what we'd had was a lot of humidity and no wind. So it felt a lot hotter than 92. I mean, some summers we get to 98, 99, sometimes over 100. 92 is pretty mild, but this year, because of just the other conditions that surround it, it was really warm. And I know some people that work with Duke Energy here in Ohio said that people in Cincinnati and the Midwest really have no idea how close we came to East Coast style brownouts. And with all these data centers coming online and economic expansion and this subdivision being developed or this commercial development being developed, more energy is being pulled from the grid, and they're not building new power plants. They're actually decommissioning some. I believe they're going to recommission some of them as natural gas fired, but even so, they're going to be offline for a little while they do that retrofit. What are some things that parks, the attractions industry, can do to address some of that? And what are some things that they're doing?
Yeah, what a great question. First of all, it is interesting what you said about just heat and outdoor attractions, how they're changing, how climate's, it it is getting hotter in lots of areas. And what you did see this last year was just even things as simple as more shade in places that previously weren't shaded for visitors and staff. And so shade has become a really big thing for our outdoor attractions in the summertime. Likewise, pushing some opportunity to nighttime when it cools down is really kind of open up doors to thinking about how are we programming our night times, where sometime to capture people that might not otherwise come during that hot period. The we talked earlier, of course, about the solar and how solar farms. Disney has a massive solar farm that they built the last several years. It's amazing. Six Flags is committed to solar in many of their parks, and some of their parks are now completely off the grid. And so parks are definitely stepping up for alternative energy and driving the needle in that. And then also even creative opportunities such as what's called VPPAs, where it might be a solar farm that gets built in a completely different state, but you're buying in credits for it, and it's helping to offset carbon footprint. So there's lots of momentum around this, and I think it really, David, to your point, while nobody wants 92-degree humid days, it's really also give us a little bit of a push to think of alternative ways to drive the energy for our parks.
And just to speak to this, go ahead, David.
No, I was going to say, for what it's worth, 92 is actually not bad in Ohio. The problem we had cicadas to deal with also, but the wind, there was no wind pushing anything. It was just sun and humidity, which made it really unbearable. And I like my air conditioner, so our energy rates went up on that as well. But it's one of those things where I work in some energy efficiency things also, and I see a number of these things like, okay, this problem is it's a fairly new problem to us, but it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon, and I'm not sure what the logical step is to address it yet.
Well,
That's probably the question.
as the resident optimist, I must say, I think, like, if you look at the way solar panels work, like photovoltaic cells and their efficiency per square foot today in 2025 compared to 5 years ago, it's crazy. Like, it is unbelievable how good we're getting at converting the sun's energy into usable electricity for people. And while, yes, many solar critics do mention that, like, but by the time you store the solar energy to use it later on, it's significantly less energy efficient. And that is true. If we just start building our products with batteries that are able to use tons of energy when it is really cheap throughout the day, when we're creating more energy than we can even use throughout the day, and store it, it is still going to be the long-term solution. There's geothermic energy that we can tap into too that is expensive and we haven't really done, but would be, able to work at night. And I do think, like, Disney's solar farm, for example, I don't know, I've never seen, but they say it powers 2 of their 4 parks all the time. Like, all of the energy for half of the Walt Disney World theme parks is coming from solar already. So I do think these are encouraging signs. And if the grids writ large are close to these brownouts, this is more reason for the parks to get on the solar train quicker so that they can be a place where that is avoided should it become a reality.
Yeah, and there's just one other trend as well. You're right. I mean, solar has just come so far so quickly, and it continues to evolve. But also, a lot of organizations are coming together and forming coalitions or groups that are helping to also kind of move that needle, or at least if they see an opportunity like solar, have a group that can talk about that and work on it together. One comes to mind is what's called the Aquarium Conservation Partnership, where aquariums across the country, across the US, have come together, formed the Aquarium Conservation Partnership. And just that, they're 100% focused on conservation and having some of these type of conversations that we're having today. And so we are seeing that ACPs and others are starting to really pop up as attractions realize that, hey, we can make a difference, especially when we come together as a unit.
Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Well, David, I want to kind of land the plane, bring it around. We've actually gone a while. This has been an engaging conversation, but I don't want to make it 2 hours long. Question: what are you going to be doing at IAAPA this year?
I love IAAPA because it is an opportunity for us to all learn from each other in different disciplines, right? And so we come together from, you have amusement parks and zoos, aquariums, museums, family entertainment centers. Everybody comes together, and because of that, it's this melting pot of just lots of different talent. And likewise, because it's truly international, it's also a melting pot of just different cultures and you can see the different trends that are emerging. And so what do I get out of IAAPA is just that it's this really diverse group that is able to have great conversation, learn about what's moving the needle in visitor experience today, and even more excitedly, what is tomorrow? What's where are things heading? What are we seeing in Europe? What are we seeing in Asia, Middle East, and how is that going to change things here in the United States? And so that's what I'm looking for. And likewise, I'm also just an opportunity to reconnect with friends. And it's definitely, we call it's the attraction Super Bowl of the year.
That's right.
That's a good way of putting it.
Without the football. Yeah.
Yes. Well, maybe. Hey, I'd be down for a little game on the show floor of football.
You know what, Clete? We're gonna do it. We're gonna go, and I'm gonna go for it. Yeah. All the way out, just see how far I can go. And
I'm already fashioning myself as the Bengals fill-in quarterback, so I'll take the quarterback, and someone else can be. You guys can create the front, what do you call it, the offensive line. someone to actually protect the quarterback.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're playing for the Bengals, you don't get an offensive line. That's not how that works. So that's too bad. It's too bad. Well, David, thank you so much for joining our show and being generous with your time and your knowledge. We appreciate it a lot. We hope you'll join us again soon on the Attractions Group podcast for some more great stuff.
Well, what a great conversation, and thank you for talking about all things visitor experience and sustainability and everything that you're all passionate about, and I truly appreciate that as well.
And I only feel like we scratch the surface, because in preparing for these, in full disclosure, we have like a sheet, a page and a half of stuff to do, and we always think we're just going to buzz through this. It's never going to go very long. And as I look through there, there's like 5 or 6 things out of 10 that we didn't even touch.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yep, it is. But thanks for coming on. We appreciate it, and hope to connect sometime on the show floor.
Absolutely.
All right.